Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, video games, music, food, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi.
Yes.
Hi, Tavi.
Hi, Dan. We're in I'm in a different location today. I'm actually sitting right here with Boon.
I'm here, yay.
Oh, hi there, Boon.
Boon and I are here in the flesh, drinking a nice bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, it's the Glenfarclas 105 cask strength Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. It's 60%, so it's spicy, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it is. Fuck it up.
Woo. I like that plug as well. There is a very clean plug for that whiskey.
Yeah. I mean, I do work in advertising.
Oh, very good.
So I guess, it's a spicy dram for a somewhat spicy movie, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
What movie are we talking about?
So today, I guess it kind of kicks off the Korean Film Festival stuff. But Boon and I watched this movie during MIF, and this is the highly anticipated Park Chan-Wook's Decision to Leave. So this is basically his follow-up to The Handmaiden, which is a fucking brilliant movie. I'd say it's his second best movie.
It probably is his second best movie.
I reckon it's his second best movie. But like, Park Chan-Wook is a guy that doesn't make a bad movie. All his movies are good.
Yeah, he's an internationally acclaimed director amongst like casuals and like film fanatics like yourself.
Yeah.
You think so? Amongst casuals?
I wouldn't say amongst casuals.
Really?
Well, I guess anybody that's heard of Oldboy has probably heard of him.
Oldboy is second to Parasite, the most recognized Korean movie. Because I've asked a lot of people who are like, I want to get into Korean movies. Like, what do you recommend? And I always say Oldboy, and most of them have seen it.
Yeah, okay.
Crucially, Parasite doesn't have an American remake yet. So I think Oldboy's on top at the moment.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, that's true.
Parasite has a TV series that was immediately announced after the success of Parasite, though.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. I guess, I think to many, Park Chan-Wook is like what would you call like a legendary director, iconic director in like the film space?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Maybe his movies are mainstream, but I think like amongst like film aficionados, everybody knows who he is.
Sure, yeah. I guess in the scope of South Korean cinema especially, he is very prolific. He doesn't really do a bad movie, like you said.
Or has he with this latest one?
We'll get to it. It's been 6 years since The Handmaiden, which is a while.
Decision to Leave, I'd say it's like a mystery romance.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yep. Do you want to give us a breakdown of the plot, Tav?
The plot is... forgot the main character's name. Despite seeing this movie 4 times.
Yeah. Korean names are kind of hard.
It's hard with Korean names, yeah.
Park Hae-in.
Hae-in. There you go.
Yeah, I'm guessing his surname is Park or Kim.
Yeah. Yeah, so Park Hae-in is Park Hae-jin.
Park Hae-il.
I'm seeing like Park Hae-jin, unless that's the actor's name.
Oh, wait. Hae-jun? Hae-jun? I'm seeing a lot of different
it's
things as
Hae-il.
well. I think
it's Park Hae-il.
Okay.
You've seen this 4 times, man.
The dude's name is Hae-jun and the character's name is Hae-il.
Okay.
Follows a detective who falls in love with his suspect, who is a mysterious Chinese woman, Seore, played by Wei Tang. The premise is actually quite simple, but this movie, it's a very intricate movie. And I had a pretty interesting experience with this movie the first time I watched it with Boon.
Quote unquote interesting.
Yeah, we went to watch it at MIF, and I fell asleep during this movie. I was nodding off a lot, and I missed so many important points, and I was like super lost. I didn't know what was going on.
It's not really the kind of movie that you could fall asleep during and still keep up. There's a lot going on, and it's pretty subtle in its storytelling as well. So.
You can understand though, right? Because it's quite a slow burn in terms of a movie.
But that's usually Tavi's wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know why, because Risky and I were drinking and watching K-pop the night before. But when I went there, like, I wasn't particularly tired. I think it's like we had some pretty average seats when we got there. And then, basically we were at the very front. And my neck was like cranked so much. And I think I just got tired, just like cranking my neck. Right. And then I was just like falling asleep. Because it's at a glance and maybe on a first viewing, it appears to be a pretty slow movie. But as I just said before, I've seen this movie 4 times now. Because I'm like, when I first watched it, I'm like, how could this be? This is, Park Chan-Wook. This is like my dude. How do I almost not really like one of his movies?
So basically, you forced yourself to keep watching it until you liked it.
It's
out of
true.
Respect for the director.
Yeah. In Tavi's defense, though, it is unlike any other Park Chan-Wook movie that's been released so far. Well, that's how I saw it. Like, it was really quite different compared to, I don't know, Old Boy, Handmaiden, Thirst.
In what ways do you think it's different?
It's not as dark at face value as a lot of the others. I think it prioritizes, I guess, the love story angle more so than I guess a lot of his other movies are renowned for the twists and the depravity.
Yeah. Vengeance. A lot of vengeance in his movies.
Yeah. Whereas this movie, there's really no revenge kind of nuance to it at all. It's basically
a little bit, but it's not the main thing.
It's not the main thing. I said to this to Tavi walking out of the movie initially. It's unlike any other movie I've ever seen, to be honest, in terms of the way it's structured and the way it's explores kind of multiple themes when it comes to, I suppose, love, mystery. At times, it's kind of almost like a psychological thriller. So it's it's hard to pinpoint exactly what kind of genre it fits into. And I think that's maybe what he was going for. And if it was what he was going for, he's really nailed it, I think.
Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think there are a few things going on. Like the mystery at its core, right, is Hye-jun trying to figure out how this man has fallen off a cliff, even though he's an experienced climber, right? And you know, all the signs point to the wife being the culprit.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of mystery. It's not really a mystery because we quickly figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, on top of that, there's the kind of seduction, I guess, of the detective by the wife, the widow, Sore.
Yeah.
So that plays a part as well. And all the while, there's this internal struggle in the main character.
Yeah,
Hye-jun.
the insomnia.
Yeah. Right, his insomnia, his dedication to his job.
He's
but
happily married, quote unquote.
Yeah.
To I don't know,
sure.
Yeah, quote unquote happily married, and I mean, at face value, everyone sees his marriage as being quite healthy. Then he's at the same time he's finding himself interested in this suspect that he's investigating, which is a lot of the tension of the whole movie, really.
I think it's just kind of a commentary on the boredom of comfortable life, because he doesn't despise his wife, but the thing is, the movie does a very subtle and clever way of making his wife sort of unlikable.
Yeah.
Just those little nagging things that she does to him, because he has an issue with smoking, and she's constantly on his ass for smoking. And when you see that when they're having sex, there's no energy between them.
Sure.
Yeah.
The relationship that's portrayed right from the get-go is one that's not very passionate.
It's not very passionate, but it's not hateful either.
No.
Yes, yeah.
It's just comfortable.
Yeah, it's
two people that have been married for way too long, right?
Yeah, and that's the whole the whole issue from his side of things, right?
Sure.
When he meets serendipitously the suspect that he finds, I guess, physically attractive and emotionally intriguing, that's when this whole kind of plot like evolves, I guess, in this movie. Yeah, it's no, it was, to me, it was very interesting the way that.
So it's not. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it was really interesting the way the director kind of didn't really make it feel like a romance movie and didn't really make it feel like a mystery movie. It was kind of its own thing, which I really valued when walking out of the cinema at the time, even though I wasn't fully satisfied, because it wasn't like, I guess going into a Park Chan-Wook movie, you're expecting something like quite, I don't know, like
visceral,
shocking. Yeah, visceral, shocking. But I didn't get that at all with this movie.
Maybe more straightforward as well. I think it's probably a bit more complex than something like Old Boy, right? Like Old Boy is like...
Yeah.
He gets in prison and then he spends the rest of the movie trying to track down.
Yeah, there's very clear goals.
The plot is complicated, yeah. Whereas in this one, it's a very simple plot. It's like... It's more about the performances, isn't it? Like when you're watching it on the screen, it's about the cinematography, the performances. And I guess like... There's some storytelling that like is built around like the two characters that aids in like the characters they're trying to portray. But I think in terms of the acting itself, I think the two mains, they do a really great job at creating that weird sexually tense relationship.
It's a very
it's very subtle.
very Asian. Like if you compare maybe like Western versus Eastern courting, like you know, a lot of people.
Owen Wilson's Marry Me.
Owen Wilson's.
Are you remember that?
There were heaps of movies like this back in the 90s, right, in Hollywood, where there was like heaps of sexual tension, and like they probably end up having sex like halfway through.
Yeah, but here they don't, and that's the thing. Like maybe a lot of Western people who might not be familiar with like maybe Eastern courting, because like Eastern courting is like a lot of patience. I mean, like from my past experience or failures, you could say it's very similar to this. Like, you know, it's a lot of like reading in between the lines and, you know, body language, that kind of thing, where it's like in the West, it's like
sneaking glances.
It's like, why in the West, it's like, why haven't you fucked yet? You know?
I said this after we walked out of the movie, Tavi. I was like, oh my God. The most annoying thing about this was actually watching them, like, I guess, watching the sexual tension between the two of them and then nothing happening. I'm just like, if I was either of them, I would have, like, I don't know, just make a damn move.
I reckon.
And it's funny because it's funny because Park Chan-Wook is not very shy with his sex scenes. Like a lot of his movies have some pretty explicit sex scenes. So yeah, just thinking about it now, it's like I'm wondering if he's going more like, you know, he's getting a bit more tender in his old age.
I think that was actually intentional because like, I guess like there's these two characters who are obviously quite interested in each other, and there's tension throughout the entire movie, but there's actually no super intimate scene between either of them through the entire movie. I think that was like completely intentional on his part, because like he could have done like a, I don't know. He could have done an old boy style sex scene, but he's like, I bet, but he's not done it intentionally, even though these two characters probably maybe in a Western context may have like warranted such a scene.
I think the romance that's been built kind of suits these two characters though, and also just suits the arc that they have together. Because at first it's not clear whether Saw-Ray actually reciprocates the detective's feelings. In fact, I think she probably doesn't. At first, I think she's just kind of seducing him so that he helps her.
I think so too.
But then he's well into her.
There's that vibe, for sure. Like that he's the one that's super into her.
Yeah, and she's not a character that seems to be above sleeping with people to get her way, because she does that kind of with her husbands. Both of them, right?
Husbands.
You assume, you don't see it, but you would assume so. But yeah, I guess the fact that she doesn't do that with Haejun and kind of shows a deeper level of emotion on her part in the second half of the film anyway.
Yeah. I think there's a moment in the movie where she talks about how, like, she's kind of drawn to more, like, the scumbaggy type of guy. And, like, she's drawn to more guys with a bit of a rough edge. So when she meets the cop, the main character, sorry, I'm not going to... I forget his name. Yeah, so when she meets the cop, the main character, I think she says something like, oh, you know, normally a guy of your stature would never talk to me. I think she says something along those lines at some point.
Yeah, because she's comparing herself to Korean and Chinese women.
Yeah, I think she's also finding this pseudo relationship kind of new, I suppose, at the time for her as well, and she's enjoying it. And obviously, like, she's enjoying being, like, somewhat promiscuous and leading him on as well. It's part of the fun and, like, part of why the movie is interesting to watch as well.
There's a very clear break. Like, when I watched this movie, it very much felt like it was a play. Because you're watching it for the acting, you're watching it for the interaction between two characters.
It really did feel like a stage play, didn't it?
Because, like, plays usually they'll have 2 acts, I think, or 1 act. The first act is Seore seducing the detective, Hail, and then the second act is, like, it's switched around. And, like, going back a bit before, Boon, you said, like, you know, you hadn't really seen anything like this, and I hadn't seen anything like this, like, ever. But I noticed that it had kind of a very strong, like, Hitchcock vibe. So I watched Vertigo for the first time the other day, and I'm like, I see what you're doing, Park Chan-Wook. So this movie is basically Park Chan-Wook's love letter to, like, Vertigo or Rear Window. A lot of those, like, Alfred Hitchcock mystery romance movies, because you couldn't do a lot of, like, depraved shit back then. So, you know, a lot of it is kind of like the detective, you know, especially in Vertigo, the detective is, like, following a woman who he eventually falls in love with, but, like, the woman is a little bit shady herself. So, like,
it's exactly what this movie is kind of about.
They're basically the same movie, but they're obviously different directors, because Vertigo is Hitchcock and Decision to Leave is Park Chan-Wook.
It's also a different, I guess, like, decade as well, because this is set in, like, in present day when there's, like, heaps of technology, right? And like, technology plays, like, a big part in this movie, because she's constantly talking into her smartwatch, and so is he, right?
Yep.
So and like, the smartwatches play a massive part in this movie in terms of, like, developing the plot, because, like, she is not fluent in Korean, right, in the movie, even though apparently in real life she is. So she's using her smartwatch to translate her thoughts and feelings a lot of the time. And I guess that adds to the relationship between the two, because it's a little bit blurry, right?
I think so. I guess before we get into spoilers, I think this movie, it's actually a really good movie. Like, I was uncertain about it when I first watched it, because I missed so much. But there's, like, a lot of shit that happens, and a lot of the filmmaking craft is in this movie. Just the way everything is shot and framed.
But you know that's going to be really good in any Park Chan-Wook movie. But you know the cinematography is going to be, like, crazy good, and it is. Like,
I don't think it looked any different to any of the other Park Chan-Wook films. I think his filmic style was still all there. I think it was probably
very
just
filmic,
a different...
Exactly.
It's a very different
probably a
movie.
Different type of storytelling from him. So probably something that we haven't seen from him before in that respect. But in terms of the look of the movie, I think there are a lot of, like, very Park Chan-esque shots in it, especially the interiors. I found, like,
it looked like one of his movies. It really did.
100%.
Even though it didn't feel like one of his movies a lot of the time, especially at the end, I think.
I think this is a movie he made maybe for himself and for filmmakers to, like, jerk off over, because I think it's a pretty wanky movie if you think about it.
I think I said this to you guys before. I feel like it's probably his Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it did feel like that, didn't it? Yeah, no, that's a good point. It did really feel like it was a movie for him, and he wasn't trying to. He kind of threw out the playbook in terms of his past successes, didn't he?
Yeah, but I respect that in an auteur. You know, I think we should see more of these kind of films. I mean,
and I think we need to give props to the actors as well.
yeah, the actors are doing
I
really
think
good.
The performances were
Everybody
awesome.
on the cast.
The performances were awesome. Tang Wei, like she's like 42 years old. Like I haven't seen any movies with her in it besides Lost Caution.
Oh, have you seen Lost Caution? I haven't seen that one yet.
You haven't seen? Oh my god. And you call yourself an Asian film buff? Lost Caution is really good. And yeah, but I haven't seen her in anything since then, and I was super impressed by her performance. Like, she was so convincing, and I don't know, maybe this is because I'm a guy, but you could feel the tension from the detective side, because you could feel that she was kind of trying to seduce him the whole time, but he was also obviously trying to be a professional, a married man. And like as a neutral, I guess, viewing this movie, you could kind of see why he was having a really hard time.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Man,
she was really awesome. Like I was really impressed by her performance because, like, I don't know, like when I went to the movie, I'd actually forgotten she was in Lost Caution.
Oh, really?
I didn't even know who she was. So like when I started watching it, I'm like, oh, this woman is really doing a really good job in this role. And then when I Googled the movie afterwards, I was like, oh, that's her. And yeah, and I realized I hadn't seen her in many things since Lost Caution.
She was in this Chinese movie that I watched a couple years ago called Long Day's Journey into Night. She's really good in that. That movie is much more slower paced than this movie. It goes for it's another 3-hour movie. But yeah, no, she's really good. She's really good in this movie. I really liked the performance of the first, I guess, sidekick detective.
Like the young guy.
Yeah, he was really funny.
He's like kind of the butt of a lot of jokes, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then he gets stabbed.
But like he does. The way
It's funny when he gets angry because the captain bought the girl sushi.
Sushi. And then he's trying to troll the captain by double smoking because I'm pretty sure he knows this captain is trying to recover from smoking. But the really funny scene is when I think they're having dinner, a company dinner, and then he's sassing the captain. He's holding this soju glass to his ear.
Oh yeah.
The imagery just looks really hungry because he's so pissed off at the captain, just whispering into his ear through the soju glass.
Yeah. I also very much enjoyed the little chainmail glove that
that
he pulls out to fight
really
that goon with.
Yeah, Park Chan-Wook I'm not even sure if this was an even intentionally funny scene.
It was intentional.
Yeah,
it was definitely intentional.
He knows what he's doing.
But how do you think of this stuff, man? It's just genius.
He's just good. He's just good, man.
He just knows what he's like.
He knows how to play.
Man, it's just imagine humor without having to quip. It kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, all the humor in all of his movies are really. There's no quips. There's actually no, I'm trying to think of quips. There's none.
Yeah, I think I need to just sit down and just watch all the humorous scenes in a Park Chan-Wook movie and just break it down.
It's awkward humor though, right? Yeah.
Sure. And it's all contextual as well. I didn't need to watch it out of context.
It's genius writing.
He's a pro, man. That's why everyone is really looking forward to this movie.
Knows how to make a goddamn movie, man, this guy.
Shall we talk spoilers?
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it yet, go see it.
Yeah,
and
it's a great movie. It's a great movie. But it's probably the worst Park Chan-Wook movie so far, in my opinion.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard because it's just different. Like it's really because when you say like the worst, it's like saying this movie's shit. So it's like
it's the worst amongst many really good movies.
Yeah, he's got an excellent body of work so far. So I don't think saying it's the worst is necessarily a terrible thing.
Yes, it's not a terrible thing. I really like this movie, and
I think I enjoyed this movie more than I enjoyed Thirst.
Oh, Thirst is okay. Thirst is pretty fucked up. Yeah, when I watched Thirst, I was like, man, this is. And I think when Thirst came out, it was like during this like vampire Hollywood craze as well.
Twilight came out in 2009. Yeah.
So I was like, man, this is fucking dope when it came out.
Yeah, kind of hard to say because I haven't seen the other films in a long time, and I was probably a different person when I watched these films.
It's a completely, but that's the thing. It's a completely different film to what he's done before. So I think the issue for me was that it may be my own fault. I went into this movie expecting a Park Chan-Wook film, and I didn't get it, but I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't the Park Chan-Wook movie that I was expecting.
What do you reckon, Tavi? Where does it rank?
I don't know. Like, it's the thing about Park Chan-Wook, just thinking on his body of work, a lot of his films are like quite different. Even if you're comparing like Thirst to I'm a Cyborg, it's really hard to compare.
They all feel like his movies though, right?
Yeah.
This one felt like a Korean melodrama.
Yeah.
That could have been done by any director, albeit done really well.
I guess it's like the first Park Chan-Wook movie that I didn't immediately love. So whether that makes it the worst movie, maybe it is.
I reckon it's probably one of the more accessible of his films, though.
Oh.
To like, if you hadn't seen a Park Chan-Wook film, like it's way more accessible than something like I'm a Cyborg, right?
The plot is very simple, isn't it? Like the plot is very simple, and I think that's where it excels as well. Like it's such a simple plot, and it's done.
It's not overly weird either.
Yeah, it's done so well.
I wouldn't say the plot is that simple.
No, there's not. Yeah, there's no incest, unfortunately.
There's no scissoring.
I was waiting.
Yeah, don't go into this movie expecting scissoring. Because you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah, you'll be pretty disappointed. Anyways,
good film. I reckon. Let's spoil it, shall we?
Go for it.
So did you want to talk about the second half of the film? So like you said, there is a definite change in pace in the second half. So once the captain or the detective realizes that yes, she was the one that murdered her husband, he basically lets her go, but decides to move to a different place to kind of escape his feelings for her.
He's also distraught at the fact that he's
collapsing, Boon.
No, he's shattered, I think is the quote. Yeah, I'm shattered or some shit like that. But like,
depends how it was subbed.
Yeah. It's very true.
Nah, there's some profound quote where he's like, "I'm shattered at letting this happen," and because I think he's built up as this like gun cop, right?
Yeah,
that does everything by the book and everything, and he's like. I think he's like quite senior in his department, and he's kind of let this temptress kind of like walk through his like barrier and like get away with essentially murder, and he's quite distraught about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he basically tells her to fuck off, I guess. But in doing so, that activates her feelings for him.
Yeah. She starts going after him. She falls in love with him. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess he negs her into it, right?
Asian girls, man, that's how they operate.
Yeah.
That's how they operate.
So that kicks off the second half of the film where he moves to a different area. I forget what the area is called.
Ipoh. IPO.
Yeah. He moves there with his wife and starts investigate. No, he moves there with his wife and takes up a station there. At first, investigating a turtle thief. I think it was his first case there.
That's another comedic like kind of side plot.
It's genius, man.
It doesn't add anything to the story really, but besides comedy
Just-
later on.
Yeah.
So I think his wife
then,
was.
yeah.
I think his wife was already living there, so he's moved back to
he
his.
transfers
Like,
back. Yeah,
he moves back to his hometown, like his quote unquote hometown. That's like beachside and quite like lo-fi compared to the hustle and bustle of Busan, where
And he
like
tries to give it a go with his wife.
Yeah.
He tries to get along and do the husband and good cop thing, but then he bumps into the temptress again,
who has married
moved to his
another
hometown.
disgusting husband, I guess.
yeah, he's essentially like like a crooked business loner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scumbag.
Yeah, there's plenty. Yeah, very of the time because there's plenty of those around at the moment as well.
Home-blown scumbags, yeah.
Yeah.
So she basically chases him to Ippo and starts trying to seduce him again. Right from the get-go. And then she she gets her new husband killed. Her new husband turns up dead and he's forced to investigate that murder.
Well, the mystery is if she did kill her second husband, which she kind of did, but it's more so like why she did it. And I guess the conflict is like whether or not she is genuinely in love with the detective. So that's his struggle. He doesn't know. Does she like him or is she using him again, basically?
Basically.
To get away with a second murder.
I think at that point everybody just realized that she's a freaking psycho at that point, right? Like she's had two husbands and she's murdered both of them basically in cold blood.
So even the detective's wife figures it out pretty much straight away.
So I think at that point it's like she's a fucking psycho, but at the same time this cop is still fucking infatuated by her, right?
Yeah. I think it's just like sometimes when you are just so into someone, you kind of forego their flaws. And I guess
and you try to justify their actions, I guess.
Even though they've murdered two people and the two people happen to be their husbands.
I mean, she had a pretty good reason to murder the second guy.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But clearly her judgment of character is very poor.
Sure.
Well, I think that's just like kind of the cycle of her character is that she is always just going to end up being with some scumbag.
That's true.
Because
That's very true.
Because the decent cop tells her to fuck off when he finds out that she murdered her husband.
But it's like it's kind of hard for her because she's a foreigner, you know, and like as a foreigner, you don't have all the advantages of someone who is born and raised in that country. So you have to like take those immediate short-term goals, such as maybe marrying a rich husband.
Yeah, it's also why she might feel like extra, I guess, smitten by this cop when they start to get close in the first act, right?
Yeah,
because she's never really like been around guys like that before. She's used to being around scumbags. Yeah, and then when this like stand-up cop guy like shows interest in her, it's like it's not what she's used to.
I found a lot of the foreshadowing in a lot of the dramas that she watches are really funny.
Yeah.
There's
I didn't pick up on it, but go on.
I think it's the second one where it's just like no, it's like the nuclear reactor. This guy, the acting is really funny because it's like really over the top.
But it's pretty accurate.
She's like saying exactly. It's like, why did you do such a stupid thing? And then I think one of the other actors says like, it's because it's the only way I can get back to see you. Yeah. But like, I was too busy laughing at the acting because the guy's face is that really, it's when you think of an over-exaggerated Korean melodrama face.
He's like sweating. He's like beads of sweat and shit.
Yeah. So, and I think you see that in the first drama that they're watching as well. Like they're kind of explaining the plot during the dramas that they're watching. I think the first one, it's like a period drama where like this other girl is dying as well, and then the other guy is just like distraught, and it just looks funny. Yeah.
I mean, even without the love story side of it, I feel like the two mysteries were pretty effective as well. Like the cases of the two husbands getting killed, because you kind of figure out that she's done it, but like the explanation as to how she pulled it off, like the first one, you know, swapping the phones with the old lady.
I was really confused by that actually when I first saw it, because I didn't know that it was like a.
Because he fell asleep during the crucial.
But even the second time, it's like, is that like a step app or something?
No.
The step app thing.
Yeah, step app. It's like it's because the alibi is what kind of cleared her name initially, right?
Yeah.
And once they discovered the phones were swapped, it changed.
And that's the thing you were talking about before about the technology playing a pretty big part in driving the plot.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even the second mystery as to like why and how she got her second husband killed was pretty good.
Yep.
I think there's something for everybody, even if you're not entirely invested in the love story. You know, you've still got these two pretty good mysteries to kind of engage you.
Okay. Yeah. Here's a question for you guys. Were you unsatisfied with the ending?
I guess if I have to pause, then probably not.
Because I was thinking about it, because initially I'm like, you know, why is she just kind of just killing herself? Like,
I found it a little bit melodramatic. Yeah.
I also don't think that would work. I don't think you can kill yourself that way.
Well, let's try it next time you're over, Dan.
Now you'll save me though, right? If it comes to that.
See ya.
If it turns out I'm wrong and it actually does work, you'll pull me out, right?
We'll try it when you come down, and Dan. Got this whole nice and done for you. But I think what the ending is symbolizing, it is a melodrama, because like it's the classic doomed romance, because at the end of the day, he's a detective and she's a suspect, so they can never ever be together. And I think she's just kind of thinking of the cycle, or maybe she's just thinking like she's basically the phone, you know. She needs to bury herself away because she has the secret with her, and maybe she couldn't help herself. So it's just like, this is the only way to do it.
I think, to me, they didn't really explain the extent of her pain, the pain of her character, enough throughout the movie to justify her taking her own life at the end. That's why I was like, oh my God, is she actually going to fucking kill herself? I was like, oh my God, this is like pretty full on. And like up to that point, I had not predicted that character getting to that point. But then again, like, I don't know, who am I to say like what a person feels when they feel like taking their life or whatever, right? But like, I was surprised.
If they're going to go that route, if they're going to go that route, then it should be sufficiently conveyed, right, through what's happening on the screen. So if you didn't feel how hurt she was, you know, that's on Park Chan-Wook, I guess.
I think like because there was this really kind of like quite poignant scene at the end where he's like on the beach, like calling out for her and shit like that, and the tide. It's like high tide. It's like probably one of the iconic scenes of the movie, right? Yeah. I expected her to like pop out somewhere and be like, oh, hey.
Burst out of the sand.
not burst out of the sand, but you know what I mean. Bursting out of the sand would be funny. that would have been an ultimate Park Chan-Wook twist.
That was in the post-credit scene, Boon.
But like, I thought that maybe there would be like a somewhat, I don't know, like feel-good scene where like they did find each other at the end, but they didn't, I don't know, they didn't do something like as obvious as like maybe like sharing a kiss or something, but there'd be a more kind of like, I don't know, highbrow, complex moment that happened there. But I guess, no, you're led to believe that she's dead at that point. And
I guess it is a little bit disappointing that like how obvious the ending is, I guess, because it is a tragedy. It's a tragedy, right? Like,
it's
this
very
love story
tragic.
is a tragedy.
Yeah, it's
so like
very tragic.
having it end in tragedy. Yeah, it's pretty standard stuff.
It's pretty standard Asian stuff.
Maybe you're right. I guess it might have been nicer if she just like got arrested and did her time and then they met up afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, after she'd done the time, you know?
Yeah, it'd be like an old boy ending, right? Where like it's ambiguous, but it's not so fucking like depressing that like
the old boy ending is pretty fucked up.
no, doesn't he like he is yeah.
It's pretty depressing.
Yeah. It's depressing.
The Handmaiden has a good ending.
No, but when they meet in the snowfield and stuff like that, it's quite like it's not depressing. It's kind of like you don't really know. It's ambiguous. Whereas in this movie, like she's dead, and he's distraught that she's dead.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward ending, I guess. Which
it's a pretty standard Asian romance.
I wasn't satisfied. Yeah, for me,
but I guess
I
it
wasn't
fits
satisfied.
the tone of the film. It's
melancholy. Yeah,
I wonder.
I don't know.
I wonder if a happy ending would have suited the tone for this movie, because it's not a depressing movie, but it's like
definitely not.
It's I don't know. It feels like it's going to end in tragedy, just the way that the story unfolds.
I think it was. The thing is, I felt it was leading that way for like maybe the last quarter of the movie. Like I was like, man, this is going to be fucked up. Something's bad's going to happen. But then I would have been pleasantly surprised if something nice happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It definitely did build up that sense of foreboding in the last 5-10 minutes of it. Yeah, I just definitely felt that. And then when the tragedy did happen, I was like, that's pretty shit. That makes me feel bad. I don't like
it made me feel really bad. And the way that she did it was so like, man, like that's a shit way to go.
And the fact that he pretty much finds where she is as well, but it's too late.
It's too late.
That sucks. Yeah. But I guess that's how we're meant to feel though. So I guess mission accomplished.
It's
right?
true. Like he's like close but not close enough, right?
Yeah. It's a classic tragedy. I'm trying to think of another movie where there was something like that, but had too much of this whiskey. It's like,
brain not working.
Yeah, brain's not working. It's just like, oh man, it's pretty fucking strong shit.
It's strong, but it's strong, but it's actually not super harsh, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, like it's
Are you still plugging this whiskey?
Yeah. Heavy.
Pay us all.
Pay us all. Yeah. Yeah, well, Asian, you need to get onto like fucking Yamazaki Distillery or some shit. What's it called? Suntory Distillery. Pay these guys.
Yeah, I know, right? Shilling your shit over this pretty highbrow movie.
I think it was a great movie. Like,
I think it merits a rewatch. I reckon it merits a rewatch at some point.
I think I will rewatch it as well.
You
I've only seen
definitely
it once.
should. Yeah.
Tavi seems to appreciate it more after watching it 3 more times. So.
But it's just like you can just. I don't know. I just really enjoy. I mean, I just enjoy the craft of Park Chan-Wook.
He's a master, man.
Yeah,
he's a master. And you, as like a aspiring like filmmaker. Like you can't be like this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
He doesn't really know what he's doing. And like out of all his films, like I've seen his films like once each, except for Old Boy.
Yep.
And probably this is like the only one I would rewatch
recommend
right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't have an urge to rewatch any of the other films.
You should rewatch his Vengeance films because they're really good.
Yeah, probably. It's been ages since I watched them.
I think if you rewatch any of his movies, you'll pick up on some things that you definitely missed the first time around. And I think that's why he's an awesome director. I've heard that if you rewatch Handmaiden, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've rewatched
the first time
I think
around.
I've seen that movie like 3 times.
How many times have you seen the scissoring part, Tavi?
That's highbrow cinema too, all right? But
it's okay.
Excellent framing in that shot.
It is actually like masterful filmmaking.
It's Park Chan-Wook, so it's okay. Like I like you won't feel guilty after watching it.
Depends on the context of the viewing, I think. No judgment though, guys. No judgment. It's excellent filmmaking.
But yeah, I think Decision to Leave is actually more accessible than The Handmaiden.
Oh, fuck yeah! It's not, The Handmaiden is like a horror movie essentially, right?
It's weird.
It has a lot of horror
very
elements.
weird as
The
well.
Handmaiden was not what I expected when I watched it as well.
I would not be comfortable showing someone who was averse to horror movies The Handmaiden.
Yeah.
Because there's jump scares. It's just a bit it's just a bit. It's a bit.
It's also scissoring.
You feel weird.
I wouldn't feel comfortable.
When you show your parent, it's like, hey, mom, dad, I got this awesome
that's the
movie,
thing.
The Handmaiden.
I would definitely recommend Decision to Leave to my parents before I recommend The Handmaiden. So, like, in that way, I think it's probably more one of his most accessible films. I reckon.
But I think it's not accessible in a way that it's not like a typical movie. You really have to be a fan of like old movies as well.
It was like nothing I've seen before, to be honest.
Yeah.
In terms of structure, themes, genre, you can barely characterize it in like a simple genre.
Because we struggled. Like it's a mystery movie, you know. Yeah, there was some thriller elements, some romance.
I think at its core, it's a romance movie.
Yeah, tragic love story.
Yeah. At its core, it's a romance, but like
with a couple of mysteries in there.
Yeah, it's just a really good movie.
Yeah, it's just refreshing to watch like auteurs like make films that they want to make and really pay attention to it. Because I mean, like Boon, we watched the first 20 minutes of Thor: Love and Thunder, and I was like, man. There's like, sure, you got good special effects and shit, but like there's
a lot of. It was just 20 minutes of quips.
How did you turn Decision to Leave review into Marvel bashing?
I can just do it like on a whim now. Like I try not to do it, but I just do it. So
he did make a point to pay it out during the movie as well.
Yeah, you gotta do it. Even though I know that Love and Thunder hasn't been that well received,
and then I was like, oh, but Christian Bale's pretty good, isn't he?
Christian Bale is good. He's actually pretty good. Like he's good at it.
I heard he's pretty good.
Yeah, but and like as I was saying,
that scene involved Christian Bale, so I was like, oh, come on, man, it's Christian Bale. He's doing a good job.
It needs to be like good acting along with like the good, production design along with the framing. It's just like that shit's so hard to do, but like, like the more money you get, so just give someone CG it. It's so good, man. And not to say that this movie doesn't have CG, because there is some obvious CG in this movie, but it's like
the turtles. Are the turtles CG?
It's the turtle and the husband falling down the cliff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was CG.
Something that we also didn't touch on was the way that they kind of use these, like the weird monologue flashback scenes, where it's kind of involving like both of them. I found that really confusing. I found that super fucking confusing initially, and then I
feel
realized
like I've seen it before in other detective things.
Sure.
Right?
I found it fucking confusing as shit initially. Then I realized that it was just like a way to build a story, and like it's just the filmmaker. Show the connection, the filmmaker style, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But like initially, it just confused me, to be honest.
No, I actually got that straight away. It's all through sound design, man. Because like when she's talking, you can hear that it's a muffled conversation. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like they're showing him in the place when he's actually not there. And it's just like,
fair
that's
enough.
Cool.
Okay, maybe I should fall asleep in movies more often.
It's definitely a movie that requires a lot of attention, I think, while you're watching it, because there's a lot of details, and like the storytelling is pretty subtle at times.
Anyway,
but I think that's a strength of the film.
I like these films that demand you rewatch them and spend time with them, rather than just like it's just content and you just watch it. and then like chuck it in the bin. Just piss on it, take a shit on it. Yeah.
We all know you hate content, even though
this is content.
This channel predominantly makes content.
Yeah.
You fucking sellouts.
Get ready for our next K-pop reaction video, guys. Coming soon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Any more to say about this film, though?
No, just go watch it. It's a great movie. And I think like just watching
it's an
it
awesome movie.
more,
It's an awesome movie.
And just after this conversation, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is actually probably one of the best movies I've seen this year.
Yeah, I would say if you're new to Park Chan-Wook movies, I would not suggest watching this first. Because it would give you a warped sense of what his movies are about, right?
What would you say?
True.
I would say Oldboy is usually my...
Probably.
I think you
Oldboy.
have to watch Oldboy first because it's just one of the best movies of all time, right? And then you'd probably watch Handmaiden and then watch this. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think I went in roughly that order. Definitely watched Oldboy first.
I really like this, but it's pretty fucked up and weird.
It's not that fucked up.
Oh, there's a lot of like blood gargling while having sex and shit. It's like weird. Yeah, that's pretty fucking weird.
I don't know. I found it kind of slow. Like, I don't know. I had a hard time watching Thirst, to be honest. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, that was his movie right after Oldboy, wasn't it?
Sorry?
No, it was.
it?
It was after I'm a Cyborg.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
I'm a Cyborg is a weird movie as well. It's very weird.
It's pretty odd, but it's very light.
It's very light, yeah. It's his lightest movie. It'd probably be his second most accessible movie, more than The Handmaiden because of how light it is.
But that's not him though, right? When you think about it.
Oh no, it is still pretty him. It's still a Park Chan-Wook movie.
Okay, cool.
Like
All right. Maybe I need to watch it.
Yeah, you should check it out. There's a lot of it's definitely a Park Chan-Wook movie.
All right. Anyways, yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice for the first Park Chan-Wook. It wouldn't be a gateway movie to his, his portfolio.
Watch
of
Oldboy
films.
first,
Yeah.
and then the Oldboy remake with Josh Brolin, and then watch all the others. Just any order is fine.
Yeah, and that'll help you appreciate the first one a lot more.
Dad, that is not your daughter. That is not your daughter. Charlotte Copley.
Oh man, that guy's in some bad films.
Yeah, he's in some bad films.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Anyway, guys, what did you think of Decision to Leave? Did you enjoy it as a fan of the director? What do you think was the highlight of the film? Let us know. You can get in touch with us at 2asianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram if you want to see what we're up to. Thank you to Boon for joining us for this episode, as always.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm sure I'll see you guys pretty soon.
Let's go. Should we finish watching Thor, or should we watch Handmaiden?
Yeah.
I'd rather watch The Handmaiden again.
Yeah.
But I have that on Blu-ray.
You might skip to a certain scene there, right?
It's got a bookmark.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right.
This episode has been sponsored by whatever that whiskey brand.
Glenn Farkas, man. Get Glenn Farkas 105 car strength.
It's
It's an awesome whiskey. One of the better value drams around, I think. Yep.
It's a fucking spicy meatball, man. I'm telling you that.
It's spicy, but it's for profound chats about Handmaiden.
All right, guys. I think that's us.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Until next time, guys.
See you next time.
See ya.
Peace. See you guys. Bye.